Often, your sponsor or the client asks you to try and reduce the project schedule. Or it may be that your project team has gotten into trouble and now you're behind schedule and you have to try and recover in some way. There are many ways to attempt this. Some are more risky than others. What we're going to examine in this module is project crashing. I think the term crashing is a good one because, in my view, trying to crash a project is very risky. What you're effectively doing is using more funding to add more resources to critical path activities in the project to try and speed up those activities. And having done so, by spending more money, maybe you can bring the project in early. The problem is, in complex projects today, adding more resources in the end doesn't always help. You have to train them. The new people need to learn the system, learn the details, and that detracts from the work that the existing people are already doing. In effect, you could try to crash a project, end up spending more money, but end up being late anyway, plus you're going to be more over budget. So another approach to doing this is trying to negotiate the reduction of scope. And we've seen companies do this in some famous product launches. For example, Microsoft Vista. Vista is known to have been a software package that didn't work very well. It started working better, I think, in Windows 7 and Windows 10. And it included the features that should have been in the original launch but didn't make it because the project was behind. So sometimes de-scoping the project may be the way to go. But if you can't and you have no choice, here's the principle behind project crashing. The idea is this. The more money you spend in a project, the more certain activities are able to be reduced. Okay, so here's an example on cost versus project duration. Notice the direct cost goes down the longer the project exists. Well, that makes sense because you pay resources to get the work done. If you don't pay as much and the resources don't do the work as fast, it takes longer, it's more money over a longer period of time, the cost curve goes down. The bottom line, if you want something fast, if you need to expedite it, you're going to pay more. And that's what this cost curve shows. The direct cost goes down the longer the project takes. On the other hand, the indirect cost, for example, the rent on the building, things that are tied to the long-term operation of the project, go up over time. So what we're trying to do is improve the duration. So move the duration from a higher number to a lower number. So that means a higher direct cost. But at the same time, it would also infer a lower indirect cost. So the thinking behind project crashing is we are going to crash the project so that we get the least, the highest, the least direct cost and the least indirect cost. There's often a sweet spot between indirect and direct cost. Now, this does put a number of assumptions in the crashing activity. It assumes that you spend the money and it will actually work. I've had some project team members say, well, we're going to look for the least costly activity to spend money on to reduce first. Well, is that always the right constraint? Maybe we should try to go to the least risky, even if that is more expensive. And that may be true. It depends on the priority of the project. But for the purposes of understanding the principle of crashing is find activities on the critical path that have the potential to be reduced in duration if you spend more. Okay, you analyze which activities fit that profile, spend more to reduce the duration by moving from right to left on the direct cost curve, and you also move from right to left on the indirect cost curve, and you seek to find the optimum point where direct and indirect costs are the lowest, and that is the point where you can find the best benefit from attempting to crash a project.